One of the most popular anthology series of all time was Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The show premiered before The Twilight Zone, One Step Beyond, and Boris Karloff's Thriller. It was a labor of love for Hitchcock and aired for 7 seasons as a half-hour show, then 3 more seasons as the Alfred Hitchcock Hour. What made the show so popular, and why was one particular episode never broadcast on network television because the sponsor and the censors both thought it was too gruesome to show? We'll find out on this episode of Rerun Zone. Alfred Hitchcock had already been making movies for over 3 decades when Alfred Hitchcock Presents debuted on CBS. He was already so well known as the master of suspense that the network didn't even require the usual test pilot for the show. First broadcast from 1955 to 1960, Hitchcock Presents was sold as a half-hour crime thriller anthology, but quickly delved into the realm of horror and the macabre, with shocking twist endings that were Hitchcock's trademark. Ranked number 4 by Time magazine's The 100 Best TV Shows of All Time, Hitchcock Presents was an award-winning show that used Hitchcock's name to attract viewers. Besides his name in the title, Hitchcock himself appeared at the beginning and end of each episode. The camera would fade in on a simple silhouette drawing of Hitchcock to the theme music of Funeral March of a Marionette, written by French composer Charles Gounod, which was recommended by Hitchcock's longtime musical collaborator, Bernard Herrmann. Hitchcock would appear in shadow on the right side of the screen and then walk to the center, blending with the caricature. He would then say good evening and introduce that night's episode in true Hitchcockian fashion.
Good evening.
Hitchcock was a lover of fine art and attended art classes when he was younger. So when he had the chance, he took it upon himself to create and draw the simple line drawing that would come to represent him. He would record 2 introductions for each tale, one for American audiences and one for French and German viewers. The American version would usually poke fun at the show's sponsor or some other recently popular commercial, while the other version would make fun of the American audience. In later seasons, Hitchcock would record the intros in both French and German, as he was fluent in both languages. He would appear again at the show's end to tie up all the loose ends. This was something that the sponsor wanted, as many episodes ended with the villain getting away with the crime. The sponsor wanted the audience to know that fate would eventually catch up with the criminal. According to TV Guide, Hitchcock explained that telling the viewer that the culprit had been arrested was a necessary gesture to morality.
He killed me.
Who?
He killed me.
Who was it and when?
Although never writing a single script, Hitchcock himself directed 17 episodes, 4 of them in the show's first season. He usually directed an episode that included an actor that he wanted to work with. He was one of the most prolific and popular movie directors of the day, and although he wanted to direct more episodes, his hectic movie schedule often got in the way. The show's executive producer was Joan Harrison. She had worked with Hitchcock for 20 years before the show's development, first as his secretary and later as a scriptwriter. Harrison rose to fame in the 1940s as the world's only female film producer. She began her work on Alfred Hitchcock Presents by choosing the stories, and Hitchcock considered the selection process a crucial aspect of the show. The shows are all one of a kind, and they're usually based on short stories, many from Alfred Hitchcock's own mystery magazine, which was a monthly crime and detective publication. They were all short stories, but were presented as short films. 2 of the episodes directed by Hitchcock were nominated for Emmy Awards. The first, The Case of Mr. Pelham in 1955, is a psychological thriller starring Tom Ewell, which tells the story of a businessman with a paranoid suspicion that he has a double that is taking over his life. The second, Lamb to the Slaughter, is about a pregnant housewife who bludgeons her cheating husband to death with a frozen leg of lamb. That episode made TV Guide's list of the 100 greatest episodes of all time in 2009 and was ranked at number 59. In the third season premiere, The Glass Eye, director Robert Stevens earned an Emmy Award for his work on a twisted story about a ventriloquist and his dummy. Many of the Alfred Hitchcock Presents stories had a twist or shock ending, which preceded Rod Serling's Twilight Zone by several years. One of the most famous episodes, titled Man from the South, stars Steve McQueen and Peter Lorre as a couple of gamblers in Las Vegas. Lorre approaches McQueen with a bizarre bet on whether McQueen can make his lighter light 10 times in a row. If McQueen wins, he gets Lorre's convertible. If he loses, Lorre will cut off his little finger. If you haven't seen the episode, I won't give the ending away here, but needless to say, it's a real shocker in classic Hitchcock style. That brings us to the show's 7th and last season as a half-hour show. The episode The Sorcerer's Apprentice was filmed but never broadcast on network television due to its shocking and morbid ending. By 1960 standards, the show's sponsor Revlon thought it was just too gruesome, so NBC declined to air the episode. Written by Robert Bloch, the author of the Hitchcock film Psycho, it was once considered a lost episode, but has since been shown in syndication. Due to it being in the public domain, the episode can be found on many different Hitchcock home video media releases. Of course, what many find gruesome in today's movies and TV involves showing graphic violence, but in the golden age of television, people were much more shocked by what was not shown on the screen and what was left to the imagination. That's what is so disturbing about this episode, as you never see any actual bloodletting, but your mind paints a very vivid picture. The following season, the show switched from its half-hour format to an hour and was retitled The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. It also switched networks back to CBS for the next 2 years, before finally heading back to NBC for its final season. All in all, the show switched networks 3 times before finally being canceled in 1965, a 10-year run for a classic show. Much more could be said about Alfred Hitchcock himself, but I'll leave that for another video. What are your favorite memories of Alfred Hitchcock Presents or the Alfred Hitchcock Hour? Mine is an episode from a Ray Bradbury short story in Season 9, simply titled The Jar, starring Pat Buttram. Do you have any favorite episodes? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, this is Rich from Rerun Zone signing off.
But I'm Alfred Hitchcock. I am. I can prove it.
Sure, everybody is.
I am. I insist. An astounding hoax.